And thanks for joining our latest webinar. Today we're going to be joined by Detective Superintendent Andy Farrell from West Yorkshire Police, and we also have Kat from his team who's going to be supporting today's webinar. We're going to be taking a look at a new police-led PowerApp that exploits the Microsoft 365 capabilities that are across all forces as we share a common blueprint and common infrastructure across policing as a result of the work of PDS. And this app is particularly there to improve on the planning around 4P approach for serious organised crime. Now, the 4P should be fairly familiar with many of us across policing as we use it in a number of different situations, and of course referring to the prepare, protect, prevent and pursue pillars around policing and problem solving. And these are terms that many of us will come across in our daily work, but Andy's going to give us a background and an overview of this fantastic new app that's been developed for policing by policing to help us to be more effective at our planning around the 4Ps. So Andy, over to you.
Thank you and good morning everybody. Thank you David, much appreciated. So as David says, my name is Andy Farrell. I'm a Detective Superintendent, currently seconded away from West Yorkshire Police into the National Police Chiefs Council Serious and Organised Crime Portfolio Office, probably one of the longest titles in history. And I'm the Senior Responsible Officer for delivering the SOC local vision and for the digital 4P solution project. So over the next sort of 15-20 minutes, I'm going to talk about the background and the journey that we've come on in terms of the 4P solution, what the solution is, what it's likely to deliver, the next steps and timescales for engagement with forces and releasing to policing. And then I'm hopefully just going to try to work through the solution and give a live demo, accepting that we are still in the pilot phase at the moment. So just in terms of the background, next slide, please, David. In terms of the background, we know from the HMICFRS assessments that they have identified inconsistency across policing nationally with 4P plans through their thematic inspections. So some forces have had good 4P plans, other forces have had basic plans, and some forces have actually had no plans actually in place themselves. And there is evidence of effectively cut and paste, which obviously isn't bespoke and doesn't really drive that operational activity and presents a risk and a challenge for policing. In terms of accountability, we know that plans are often hosted on multiple operating systems, for example, Word, Excel, Niche, Connect, OneDrive. They can often be accessed by multiple individuals. They're not date and time stamped, and there's evidence that perhaps on occasions they've been created just to satisfy HMIC inspections. We know that they can be massively ineffective, so plans are often generic. As I've sort of referenced, they fail to drive operational activity, and they aren't actually aligned to the menu of tactics which was created by the College of Policing or national guidance. So July last year, working with colleagues across policing and key stakeholders, I established a national working group. And as a senior responsible officer, I worked with colleagues from the Southwest ROCU, the Southeast ROCU, the HMIC, the Home Office and Territorial Police Forces to design a national template. The template was initially designed and identified following a review of 4P plans across policing nationally, in particular those forces that had been assessed by the HMIC as having effective plans. So what we looked to do was combine the really good bits nationally, learn from those plans that were perhaps not as effective as we'd like, and we got to a position where we designed a national template. Working with the Home Office, I was able to secure funding to support the design and delivery of a digital solution, which was essentially using existing Office 365 functionality, as that's a common platform used across policing. Next slide, please, David. So what is the digital solution? The solution is a PowerApp hosted within Microsoft 365. It sits on Force tenants and uses Microsoft's list to store structured and unstructured data. There are a number of free text fields which allows end users to add the unstructured data, but we've really tried to minimise the unstructured data fields to deliver the effectiveness and reduce the amount of information entered, which will also allow better performance monitoring. The intention is to provide automation functionality, meaning end users should receive email notifications at certain points. For example, when a plan is created, an action's been allocated, or when it goes overdue, that will allow us to better monitor the plans and provide better accountability. The plans will also be date and time stamped in different areas, and will also prevent data being overwritten and deleted. So giving that legacy and that history of the plans as they have been created. We're currently working on creating a Power BI dashboard, which will aggregate a number of the data sets and provide an overview to allow performance monitoring. That's likely to be a bolt-on to the digital solution, but they will run hand in hand. As the app will store and add data from forces, there'll need to be early engagement with force information management advisors to complete the data protection impact assessments. And as part of the solution, we're working on access controls, which will provide a consistent approach to who can access the solution at what level. However, the decision around access remains in line with force existing agreements and protocols around information management. Next slide, please, David. So what will the solution deliver? The solution will deliver a consistent approach across all 43 forces in England and Wales, including the ROCU network. It's been designed in line with the required data from a number of different business areas, such as the Regional Organised Crime Threat Assessment, including the trigger forms and disruptions recording. Aspirationally, we're looking at interoperability longer term with APMIS. It will absolutely improve accessibility. So the solution's based on the Outlook address book, meaning that if your contacts are stored internally within your tenant, you should be able to add them at various points throughout the solution. There's also a function that allows the plans to be displayed as a PDF, which aggregates all the screens and provides a document plan. It will drive operational activity, providing the ability to identify, record and monitor a number of actions, which allows forces to keep track of what's been allocated, who they've been allocated to, which teams, which individuals, across the whole 4P landscape. So not just in the pursue activity, thinking about the prevent, prepare and protect. That will absolutely drive operational activity and improve our disruptions recording, so we can absolutely understand the impact we are having across police and partnerships. It will improve performance recording, and by using that 4P approach on separate screens, we're able to capture all the activity, which is something historically we've really struggled for, certainly in terms of recording. Next slide, please, David. So in terms of the next steps, currently there are 5 pilot forces, in particular West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire, Northumbria, Cheshire and North Wales. And I'd just like to publicly thank Kat Healy from South Yorkshire Police, Ashley Kozichek from West Yorkshire Police, who have been absolutely instrumental in the development of the app following some early setbacks and challenges. We wouldn't have made the progress to where we are today had it not been for their passion, professionalism, and importantly, their skills and abilities. The solution is currently in the test environment in those pilot forces, and the intention, once we've worked through a few configuration issues and we're satisfied that we've ironed out any functionality challenges, to upload the solution to the PDS apps catalogue, where forces can download it to their own force tenant. And I'm really grateful to the support from PDS and in particular from Rachel. To download the solution, forces will need to be a guest in the PDS tenant, which can be accessed from the link which we'll hopefully put in the chat bar in the near future. And the solution will be accompanied by a number of different documents, including user and configuration guides. It's anticipated that the upload will be completed by the 9th of December. However, we are remaining flexible pending testing and completion of the relevant supporting documentation. What I will say is each force will need to consider their own internal governance around data protection, impact assessments and cyber assurance, albeit the 5 pilot sites have addressed all of those issues, and we're happy to provide any advice to forces nationally. Once the solution has been released, the intention is to form a national working group with regional representation. This will mean that forces will need to identify a suitable representative to speak on behalf of the region, and the national monitoring group will focus on monitoring the app's performance, consider any functionality changes. However, that is dependent on the capability capacity to be able to enact those changes. Equally, we need to consider how those changes may affect forces who, for example, might make changes locally around any lists or any other localised issues, as any update onto the PDS catalogue could potentially overwrite those. Additionally, through the Supt Community Coordinator Network, we're based in the Regional Organised Crime Unit, we're looking to train those up to be super users, to be able to provide that local support and guidance to forces. So if let's go on to the next screen, what I'm going to do is hopefully just sort of walk through what the plan looks like. I appreciate we've got different roles and responsibilities on the call, but I'll be able to give you what it looks like in terms of the look and feel. So I'm just going to share my screen, if that's okay, David.
Yeah, that's fine. And do
Fantastic.
keep questions coming in as we go on this. And obviously, the beauty of this is that it is all free for the forces, and we're realising more of the value of the investment in the 365 platform.
So this is the main launch page, and what you can see, there's a bar at the top to search for the SOC threat name or number. But if we just press show all, it will give us a list of the ones that are currently in our test environment. Please ignore the titles. We were having some joviality with them, but you can see you'll get a full list of the threats, the review dates, who the lead responsible officer is. So there's a couple of buttons on here which we're going to look to remove, but we are going to also include all the guidance documents on the bottom. So if I just click into this one, which is helpfully titled as Operation Sabretooth, click on edit or update, and what it does is it brings you into the app itself. You can see it was started this morning, and there's some information at the top which gives you the lead responsible officer, the plan owner, the senior investigating officer, and it also helpfully gives you the review date. Across this bar here are the different screens that you will work through as you update the app. A lot of the functionality and the structured and unstructured data within these particular fields have been taken from the ROC to trigger forms. So I'll just kind of work through it as we do. So it gives you the SOC threat name or number, the summary, which is free text and can be edited or formatted. Same with the intelligence strategy. We haven't date and timestamped these because we feel that once you've put in the threat summary and intelligence strategy, they will often not change much when compared to the lead responsible officer activity log, and I'll touch on that in a second. You'll see we've then got the drop down menus for the different SOC threats. We've got the lead responsible officer who's responsible for coordinating the plan. That's based on your outlook. You can search in there and add the relevant officers or staff. We've got the senior investigating officer if there is one, and then we've got the primary, secondary, tertiary threat. Again, all drop-down menus from lists. There's a bit to put in the different partner agencies, as you can see. So we'll just click in there. As you can see, there is an opportunity to say whether they've got any ancillary orders. We've got the relevant tier, the organisational risk score. You can see now there's a review date that's populated. And there's also an opportunity to add attachments, and that's pretty much designed to add your intelligence profiles, your locality profiles, your ancillary orders, anything that you feel is appropriate to this plan. And then this bit here is the lead responsible officer activity update log. Again, it can be formatted, but what you can do is update any of the activity on the log and save, and it date and timestamps. As you see, I've refreshed, and it just gives you the running log, which is where we provide the accountability. Onto the next screen, what we've got here is the objectives. So these drop-down menus here are all taken from the lead responsible officer guidance, which is published by the Home Office. And they are structured data sets. However, on listening to the feedback from the HMIC, we know that we need to ensure that we've got bespoke activity for our operational plans. So we've created the 4 free text fields. You can't progress to the next screen without actually typing something into the box. So we're hopeful that the plan owners, plan managers, lead responsible officers will be able to put the relevant narrative in there. Pretty simple page, and as you can see on the bottom, you've got the home screen that'll take you back to the main landing page if you need. And then we go into the action lists. These are pretty much mirrored across the 4 Ps. You can see across the top there's a number of different filter functions which allow you to sort of filter down to the areas you want, and that will also feed into the Power BI. We have picked up on the fact that this is cut off slightly, so we are working on that. But if you want to create an action, so that's edited. We'll come out of that one. If you want to create an action, it's just add new, type in your action owner, say whether we've got a partner assignment or not, align it to the relevant objectives. And whatever you put in the action description box will filter across onto the to the summary page, and I'll show you that in a second. But you'll see it's really, really easy to work through, and the colour coding, as you'll see, is worked on traffic light system of red, amber, green. We are going to look at some changes to the colours around clear hole build, which is the place-based harm response. But you can see that as we create the new actions, it gives you the action description in the box. I won't go through the prevent, protect and pursue, but essentially they just replicates the same functionality across and allows you to record your actions in different spaces. And then if we generate the PDF, it should hopefully give you a full summary of everything that's been recorded, which can be printed off, can be emailed, and can be shared with colleagues, and probably open up to any questions. I think just before we do go to questions, I think from colleagues who are in the operational space and are using this on a daily basis, it will absolutely revolutionise how we drive operational activity, how we record, monitor and evaluate that. Also, it will allow us to focus on some of the other 3P activity that often isn't recorded. As I've said, there is an intention to provide the support, but what we will get to is a position where not only have we improved accessibility, the consistency of our data, but the consistent application nationally. So I'll probably pause at that point and take any questions.
Thanks, Andy. We're beginning to get a few questions in. So the first one that went in was, are the dates linked to the rescheduling dates that are automatically generated? And maybe it's Kat, are you going to come in on this one?
Yeah, we did actually have fun with that one, working out the very complicated calculation to put those in. Basically, it will read from the tier that you choose, and it will calculate it based on the required scheduling.
So it'll come in on the 28, 3-month, 6-month, 12-month reviews aligned to the tier date. So that, yeah, essentially that's correct. Yeah, and like I said, like Kat says, we did have some fun with that this morning. It does work. We have tested it. So yeah, it'll align with that.
And another question is, could you record the same action under 2 of the different pillars, or is it a case of having to duplicate, or is it a kind of principle that you shouldn't be recording the same action under a number of pillars?
It's not something I've actually considered, and whether it could be duplicated across. I'm trying to think of an occasion where you might have duplication in the prevent and protect spaces, and it might end up reading across. I'm going to say I'm going to defer to Kat in terms of can it be duplicated across, but if not, I'll take it away and we'll have a thought around it.
I think it's one of the things we looked at, but because we were working with the design we were given, we kept within the limits of that. It could be something we could do in a version 2, if it's actually something that's in significant demand.
And I think that's one of the most important things about this, is that policing owns this product, and we can, the user groups, and as we develop and more forces take it on board and participate in how you built the structures around it to keep it alive, keep it working. Those are the sort of things that can be considered as needs develop and we start to use this product. How important is it that the forces keep using this and giving us the feedback, Andy?
So I think I go back to what I said at the beginning. The HMIC have identified this as a significant area of risk nationally in terms of how we're recording. I think what this solution does is it brings it to consistent recording and reporting nationally. And the benefits of that, as I've sort of alluded to, is the increased accessibility, the consistency across policing, and the driving the operational activities. That's the main bit. I know there's lots of work that goes on in the 3P space, so the prevent, prepare and protect space, which often isn't recorded or captured. hopefully this will allow us to better record the information, which will allow us to understand the efficacy. But I certainly having discussed this with the HMIC, it is something that they will be looking at as part of their thematic inspections. The obvious question is there any is there anything to make me hold sort of the feet to the fire for forces in terms of adopting this? No, there isn't. But if you're talking about HMIC assessments, the national consistency, and actually the benefits of the app, it absolutely is something that forces should be considering.
Absolutely. And the beauty of this is it has been designed to work off the standard blueprints, and I don't think there's any additional licensing requirements, is there, Kat or Andy?
I suppose the only bit might be the Power BI, but the general standalone solution in terms of the recording is on a standard operating license. It's just whether forces perhaps have that Power BI functionality. I'm aware not all forces do. That's part of the reason we're looking at the bolt-on as well.
Yeah, and we know many forces have some element of Power BI. It's just can we unlock all of it for those uses? I see another question that's just popped in. Is the clear whole build an essential field for every action? Not all plans have a link to the CHB site.
Correct. Yeah. So if you look at the actions themselves, there is a button to say clear whole build not applicable. We had to build it in because there will be some clear whole build activity. So you might have actions where you don't have clear whole build.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Please keep your questions coming in. We'll try and get to them as we go along. But Andy and Kat, thanks so far. We might come back to you if there's a couple more questions. Just to highlight, this isn't yet available in the solutions catalog, but it will be. The link is on there, but you will need your Microsoft 365 administrators to be involved in the local implementation. There'll be lots of user guides to support and help with that when it does become available. But if you are one of the people who would be using this now's your time to be approaching your IT team to let them know that you're going to be needing this capability, that it's going to be in the solutions catalog very soon. As soon as we got those final assessments and final amendments done, we'll be able to get that across to you and be able to do it. And we are going to be reaching out to this. There's one more new question before we go into the summary. You mentioned that the dashboard is a gallery view, or is there going to be a Power BI dashboard enabled in a separate app for this? And will forces be able to develop their own Power BI dashboards on the back of the data?
Yeah, so the Power BI dashboard will be standalone. It will be the very basic of information. If forces wish to then create or adapt their own, fine. What we will give you is akin to, and it's an analogy I've been using on a number of occasions, from the NPCC as a national garage or vehicle provider. I'm going to give you 43 BMWs. Once we send those BMWs out, they are bog standard. If you then want to put on alloy wheels, spoilers, and make improvements that will perhaps enhance their performance or their design, then that's fine. But what you will get is a very, very basic solution, which then becomes important as we link into the national sort of working group to support this moving forward, because any changes that you make locally could potentially be overwritten when we upload a new version with any tweaks from the national working group.
And that's a really important point, and it might be that you find a local solution that you'd want to share with other forces, so it could be built into the new solution moving forward. But again, this is not like a service product. This is a framework for each force to be able to adapt and to locally use and maintain that consistency, because it's the consistency that'll add so much impact and value as we go forward. Well, keep your questions coming in. We've got a couple of minutes left, but if I just cover what's coming up in the next few weeks, we have got a number of events as we run up to Christmas. So yes, that word is there. I've been to a Christmas market already. So we're having the final one of the strategy refresh next week. Get in touch with your business engagement manager if you want to be involved in that. Then if you want to meet any colleagues from the PDS in person, we're going to be at the APCC NPCC Summit at the QET Centre in London for a couple of days next week. We are going to be doing a webinar where Mike, who's driving driving in the background will be highlighting the work he's been doing with the College of Policing recently around modernising learning and development. And we also have a workshop coming up in relation to Viva Engage. And I'm going to tease early, and the details are on the PDS website under the events page. We are holding an Innovation Today event in the new year. Again, please do start registering for that so we can get in touch with anything that you need to for that. And remember, do mention the policing productivity webinars. Again, this is another element that the Policing Productivity Review have been looking at, how we work more efficiently together, sharing solutions. So a great example, worth going back to those webinars. The QR code is on screen, and then we'll pick up all those sort of things in a second. And do remember, this webinar, it's a really good way of getting things across. So if you've got stories to share, please get in touch with your business engagement answer to pick that one up. I think there was one more question. You mentioned DPIA and the possibility of sharing with other forces. Will this be able to happen?
Yeah, I'm quite happy if individual users or forces want to reach out to me. I will put my email address in the chat bar, but I don't see any reason why we can't share the DPIAs from those host forces, subject to permission from them. I know we have, as a group of 5 pilot forces, shared and use that to try and influence that consistent approach to the DPIA assessments.
And again, just so we don't swamp Andy and the team with so many inquiries, do use your business engagement manager as your first point of call, because then it'll help us to be able to perhaps already have the knowledge and answer questions for you or publish them. But we will be working with Andy and the team as we continue to move forward. If you think this webinar has been useful, get in touch with us, give us some feedback. We do use this. I want to thank Andy and Kat for all the work and providing the support for today's webinar. Really interesting subject. It's a great example of how we're using the technology, enabling our officers to address harm. This is the sort of thing we want to be able to really feature and drive forward. The recording will be available in the next couple of days on the YouTube channel alongside many others. Once again, Andy, thank you so much for joining us and sharing today. And hope you can join us next week when we do our Modernising Learning and Development webinar. Thanks everyone for joining.